So there's this quote that Neville says. He says, "Man is always looking at his world and asking, what needs to be done? What will happen? When he should ask himself instead, who am I? What is the current concept of myself?" And you could take that a step further. We will label others and we'll say they are this, and we will label everything under the sun. But really the question that matters is, who am I? Who do I think I am? Who do I feel to be? Or what do I feel to be? These are more important questions than pointing the finger or thinking about, is it impossible or not? Thinking about what will happen. None of these questions really matter, because your past that you experienced was at one point an imaginal future. And that imaginal future was dictated by your conception of yourself. So if you wish to have a better past and to have a future to look forward to, you must change your current conception. There's no other way. And if there is no other God you can turn to, you can't go to a church anymore. You can't go to a neighbor. There's only one being who can do it. And that being's inside. Then I go inward. And I change who I am there. But the I that I'm saying is the inner man, the man of the spirit. That's what I mean. And, for a long time, I have judged myself into oblivion. I have been very judgmental on myself and thinking that other people were doing that to me. But really what is done to me inside myself, I'm doing to myself. So if I think others are judging me, it's because I'm judging me. That's how this works. And what the realization I came to through Neville's work is that we must realize the nature of imagination, of our mind, so that we can live in it. Nobody wants to live in a house that's chaotic and filled with abuse. Everybody wants to leave that home. Well, is your inner mind like a house that's filled with abuse? Then you'll most likely not want to spend time in it. You most likely want to leave it. And sure, maybe that you were imprinted with this blueprint, this map inside yourself that when you should get down on yourself when you do this, and you should shame yourself when you do that, and all these judgments. And you live in this imprisonment, and you feel a prisoner to your body. You feel like you want to leave because inside it's abusive. It's a bad home to be in. But what Neville's trying to show us is that we're much more than these physical beings. I've had dreams where I have felt the tile. I have felt the walls, the textures. I have even felt flesh inside my dreams. So inside myself, I have felt flesh. So this imagination in me is the creator of flesh. Or consciousness, whatever you want to say. It can create the flesh. That's actually what this is. This is the spirit becoming flesh. But that's not really the point I'm trying to get at. The point is that I want you to start seeing reality for a second through the inner man's eyes, or the man of the spirit's eyes, instead of the man of the senses. The man of the senses, you can look through the eyes and you will see objects and walls and all these things. But the man of the spirit doesn't see the same thing. To the man of the spirit, he sees the past and it's present in front of him. And he can re-experience it. He can relive it. And the conclusions I've come to is that regarding fear, let's say you're afraid of imagining something. The idea that you're afraid, it means you already experienced the thing you're afraid of. So you already survived the thing you're afraid of. So everything you're afraid of inside of yourself is already something you experienced. You're actually just afraid to re-experience it. And you might keep imagining things you don't want to happen. But they actually already happened at one point. That's why you're afraid to re-experience it. But as Neville says, the question isn't, How should I change this? What will happen from this? I just imagine something fearful. Oh no, what's going to come? Who am I? Am I safe? What am I? These are the questions we should ask ourselves instead. And we should start to see imagination differently. And I hope that, this, I'm going to say sort of a mantra or sort of a certain phrases I might explain if I have to. But try to see through the eyes of the inner man when I speak. And I'm going to use the terms in here, meaning the inner world of imagination, inside yourself, when I say these phrases. In here, there is no judgment. I used to always feel I was being judged in life, and I didn't realize that it was me judging myself so harshly. And I had to see that inside myself, there really is no judgment. I used to feel like I couldn't give myself a certain desire because I wasn't worthy of it. I was judging myself unworthy. But there is no judgment in imagination. It's always willing. It tells us that it didn't come to judge the world, but to save it. So it's more of it's a saving being instead of a judging one. So you feel inside yourself that in here, there is no judgment. It's a fact. You can feel that. And you might be someone carrying a lot of burdens. You might feel heavy. But in here, there are no burdens. To the inner man, there's no burdens. And once you start to associate yourself with that being, that in here, you do not need anyone's permission to feel or to think or to have. You don't need anyone's permission in here. In here, the past can be changed. Don't ask, well, what will that do? Or what will happen if I do change it? Just go back and do the thing you wish you would have done. You, the man of the spirit. Go back, maybe you said something unkind at one point and your mind keeps thinking about it. Go back and fix that. Do the right thing. Say what you wanted to say. Revise it. Don't ask, well, what will it do? Simply change imagination. And in here, the future is alterable. It can be altered. It can be changed. And you have the power to do so. You're not stuck. You don't have to have an oncoming collision happen. You can change the steering wheel, if you will, and go a different direction. Don't ask yourself any more questions. Just accept this. Because it's true. In here, there are no abusers. There's no one who has power over you in here. You're not powerless. It's true. Feel that in here, I am powerful. In here, I have control. Anything I'm desiring, I actually have it. In here, I'm heard. And in here, I'm seen. We place these conditions that if I want to be respected or to be seen, I must become super famous and super rich, and then I'll finally be respected. These are conditions. There's no conditions in here. You can feel heard. You can feel seen. You are. You're always being listened to inside. So you can see where I'm going with this. Is that in here, you don't have to continue the rules given to you by the framework of the sense man. You can discard all of those things. In here, you don't need a reason why you want to feel something. No reason's necessary. No human reasoning is necessary. In here, you're safe. The man of the spirit. Don't go to this. If you start leaving what I'm saying, you start going outward, you'll say, well, this is not true. I am unsafe. Yes, you might be unsafe. Your outer man might be unsafe. You might feel unsafe. But in here, you are safe. And what you will start to realize is that you actually are the being that is safe. You just keep associating yourself with this outer man. And all I'm trying to ask you to do is just see through the eyes of the inner man. Don't try to believe something. Don't force yourself into belief, or don't try to do anything other than see through their lens, that the past and the future are these present realities to them, that they can be changed, that the present can be changed, that I can be what I want in here. I don't need permission. I can't go to another man because there's no other God in here. I'm the one doing it all. I'm the one creating in here I create my suffering. And in here I create my pleasure, my joy. I do both in here. And you keep resting and you'll realize that there are no burdens in here. There's nothing I need to do in here. I merely accept. So, you should be in a very, I would say, in a very relaxed state once you start to understand what I'm saying. Because everything you're fearing, you will realize is being created by you inside yourself. And you might ask, well, I just thought of something scary. I don't want it to happen. Remember, you can't go to another God. Some people will feel afraid and then they go to someone to solve this fear. I'm not saying you can't. I don't want to tell you what to do, but just realize that the fear is stemming from a source. And that source is you. And when you take responsibility that you truly create the terrors inside you, those nightmares are created by you. That responsibility will cause you to have power over it. It's not a bad thing to feel that you are the cause of these things. I'm not saying that everything I do is perfect now because I realize this, but it's a practice that I do. It is something that I practice often, as I feel that in here, imagination is the one who cleanses the temple, if you will. And if I'm the temple, then it's going to cleanse me from all these false ideas, all these prejudices, all these conditions, all these judgments, criticism and critiques that I do upon myself. It cleanses these things. It saves me from them, from my jealousy, from my rage. It shows me that these things that I'm holding on to I'm living in sin inside. And it saves me from that sin. It's a good thing. So the point I'm trying to make is that our minds can sometimes feel like it's just casting more burdens onto us. It's stoning us, if you will. But it's because I think that nature of the mind, where it's very judgmental, it's harsh, it's critical, it's mean. This was, at one point, I feel, given to me. I was taught to do this to myself. But the more I study Neville, I see that the imagination is actually the opposite. I guess it can be mean if you decide it for that to be mean. But when you really think about it, it's non-judgmental. It'll give you what you want inside. You can give yourself what you want inside. So before, right when you go down that path of this is impossible, there's no point in doing this, I don't know what's going to come from this, what will happen, what needs to be done, as Neville says, go back to the self. Remember, it's self-persuasion. You don't have to persuade and convince other people. You persuade yourself that you are. The inner man, the man of the spirit, persuades himself that he is. Well, how do I do that? Well, if I go inside my imagination and I start to change it, and I start to have people tell me that I'm this thing, I start to see it in my mind, then I, the inner man, must be that. I can't deny it. I'm the one doing it all, yes, but I also do the opposite. I could also have people tell me they hate me, they dislike me, and that I'm this negative thing. I could do both. So always try to go back to the self. And the self is within. And see through the eyes of the inner man. And change and revise the past, no matter what it is. At one point, that past was imaginary. Because I have altered my future. And that has become my past. And that's how it's always been. Maybe when you were younger, you didn't know. No need to shame yourself or condemn yourself for the misuse of this power. Just go back and change it. Don't ask what will happen from it. Just because what you're doing is if you're going back and you're changing and revising your past, you revise it to who you want to be. Going back to the self. So you, like I said, for just an example, you might have done something unkind. You go back and do the kind thing because that's what you want to be, kind. So it's the same idea as you change into your self-concept that you want. And there's nothing and no one to change but self, as Neville always says. So I can't go to another to, maybe deep down I do want to change what I did inside myself. I can't go to another and ask them to do it for me. I must do it. I must take responsibility. And again, these words are not bad, they're not burdening. Everything inside is actually, it's light, it's freeing. It wants to give, it's giving, unconditionally giving. So you feel in here there's no judgment. In here I don't need anyone's permission. In here there are no burdens for me to carry. In here it's light. In here it's easy. In here it's comforting, like a home, like a lovely home. Like I said, if you make your mind abusive, you'll want to leave it. But don't judge yourself for creating that. You probably were taught to do that. But now that you're becoming aware, you can start to change the nature of your mind into something wonderful and something powerful. And you'll see its effects in your life. If you truly revise something from the past and you change yourself and do the thing you wish you would have done instead, you just accept it as you would any kind of thought about changing yourself or changing the what you want to experience in the future. You just accept it the same way. You will see a drastic change in you, and it'll be fast. But again, don't ask more questions than you need to. Just simply learn to accept and change. And these two are the gifts, as Neville says. Repentance and faith is what leads to forgiveness. So we are practicing forgiveness in the end. We are forgiving ourselves by changing and revising, and we're forgiving ourselves for whatever it is. We forgive the past by changing it. We forgive our futures by changing it, by changing ourselves now. So it all comes back to the self now. And I guess the point I wanted to make with this video is to help you feel more free inside. You don't need to feel judged. There's no judgment inside. You don't need to, and use that all the time. In here, there is no whatever it is that you are afraid of. And learn to relax yourself with that. I always do that. I think it's one of my favorite ways of thinking about this. So, yeah, I hope this helps.